Overpower is still overpowered. Pair Blood Surge together with the Skeletons and Golem for world record speed leveling, with then slight alterations after level 60 to truly push this into the dominating S tier. The early gameplay loop is quite simple but mega efficient. You're blasting out multiple Blood Surges to get the free Overpower, and whenever you run out of essence, you're gonna just curse with Iron Maiden and get your essence back. More details to that in the skill section, while your skeletal mages and warriors are tanking and also refilling your essence. And yes, your golem is a bonus tank that will allow you to just breathe through the capstone dungeons that enter world tier 3 pretty early. There's 3 important parts in the leveling: 1 to 35, then 35 to 60, and 60 to 100. 1 to 35 is 10 skill points plus another 34 for the levels. Straight up beginning with Hemorrhage into Enhanced Hemorrhage and also Initiates Hemorrhage to actually able to Fortify, because we want the fortification, because base life plus Fortify is overpowered damage. Bringing us straight to Blood Surge into Enhanced Blood Surge with a Paranormal Blood Surge for the stacks on Blood Surge for the overpowered damage. I said a lot of Blood Surge. This gets us into Corpse Explosion with Grim Harvest and also Fueled by Death for a little bit bonus essence and Fueled by Death bonus damage. Whenever we have corpses, we just get free damage essentially that doesn't cost us a single point of essence. Now 2 more points into Skeletal Mastery, because we are using our Skeletal Warriors early. And here you would actually use the Skirmishers together with, you can raise an additional Skirmisher Warrior, giving you a good front line that also does incredible damage and helps you to level even faster. Now into the best skill for leveling Iron Maiden into Enhanced Iron Maiden. That gives you 5 essence for each enemy cursed. Yes, Iron Maiden doesn't cost essence anymore, but gives you essence back, so you can Blood Surge more and get more free overpowers. And since that is our main damage, we're just gonna put 1, 2, 3 more points into this. Now you'd say, great, Corpse Tendrils. But realistically, everything dies so fast, Corpse Tendrils is a waste of your points. Therefore, rather wrap up the 1 point into Blood Surge to make it the maximum multiplier. Get us a bit bigger Corpse Explosion radius for more damage. And then we're going down for passives because the damage gain is way too good. First, 10% more healing from all sources. Second, while healthy, your blood skills deal 6% increased damage. But the more interesting part, to be fair, is just simply Tides of Blood. Your blood skills deal 5% increased overpower damage. The bonus is doubled while you're healthy. And that is another 30% multiplicative damage on your guaranteed overpower with Blood Surge. Now, we're not going to scale any ultimate down there. No, rather put the next 3 points into Skeletal Mastery, which has us at 26 points spent. 26 points is 10 from Renown, 16 from Levels, which brings us up to level 17. Now we need to put in 1 more point, and that would be for bonus attack speed. And with level 18, you do finally get Skeletal Mages, and that is Cold Mages. Each time your Cold Mages damage enemies with their primary attack, you gain 2 essence. Now, Corpse Explosion raise Skeleton essence gain with Iron Maiden essence gain, and then also your Skeletal Mages just filling it up all the time for more overpowers into more overpower multipliers. Also, as soon as you have Reapers, swap over there to have your Reapers produce the bonus corpses for you. You can always raise your skeletons back up, or Corpse Explosion for bonus easy damage. Next 7 points are incredibly important. First, to go into Coalesced Blood for the bonus damage multiplier on your blood skills, and we should always be healthy. That brings us up now to level 20. Now that would be 22, 23 for more damage multiplier, and then also 24. And then also 24, 25 on the Golem Mastery, because now with level 25, we're straight up going to get the Golem in. And here it's just simply the Bone Golem with the taunt and making bonus corpses the whole time for even more free Corpse Explosion, for getting people off you, and for being able to kill bosses way easier. And especially, it's going to support us in the Capstone Dungeon beyond belief. Your skill bar should look following: Skeletons into Blood Surge, followed up by Corpse Explosion, Golem, Iron Maiden, and also Hemorrhage. You do notice how we're not having Blood Mist. That is irrelevant until level 60 almost. We'll get to that. Your gameplay loop is very simple. Send in your Golem for taunting, Blood Surge, Iron Maiden on the last to refill your essence, Blood Surge, go on, even more Blood Surge, Corpse Explosion if some things are left over, Iron Maiden for more essence, Blood Surge, Golem taunts them together again, Blood Surge, Iron Maiden for essence, corpse explosions in between, and if you feel like your skeletons die or need help, just raise one in between for a little bit of heal, and then you essentially infinitely essence keep going on. Iron Maiden restore again, Blood Surge, restore again, send in the Golem for taunting so they don't hurt you, and keep on going, which gives you an absolute smooth leveling. Level 26 gives you Rathamus Vigor for the guaranteed overpowers to then do more damage and more damage in general. Now we get 9 points left until level 35. First, we can give everyone bonus attack speed because it's amazing, and no, Bone Storm is completely useless while leveling. Yes, we do miss a source of vulnerable, but that is completely fine as our robot is going to provide that with a tuning stone breaking support, but we'll get to that after the skill part. Of those 7 points left, 3 need to go into Hood Flesh to give us the chance to produce more corpses together with our Reapers, Golem, and myself to always have corpses for the corpse explosion and everything. But the final point into Skeletal Mastery, so we get that going on. And also the one last point into Golem Mastery, giving us a nice power level. And we get 3 points left for now, and the maximum damage that we can gain is actually Amplify Damage. That's another 12% multiplicative for cursing enemies, and it works essentially against everything. Bosses, elites, normal mobs. Just straight up 12% more damage. Now we've finally reached level 35, and we need to do some changes. Yes, this will be looking weird, but we've been taking the Skeletal Mages and also the Warriors as far as we can. Because now as we go to the capstone dungeon with level 35, which seems a bit early, there needs to be a switch happening for more power. And that's the Skeletal Mages out for the 25% multiplicative more overpower damage, which is a lot. And also the Skeletal Warriors out for either elemental resistance or another 5% critical strike chance. The elemental resistance doesn't hurt as the capstone dungeon is full of these lightning induced breaks. We're keeping the Golem though, and we have now space for another skill, which in our case is going to be Corpse Tendrils into Enhanced Corpse Tendrils and Plague Corpse Tendrils. That is the 3 points from Skeletal Mage Mastery that will fuel this. Now we're also going to join 3 points out of Skeletal Warrior Mastery, and they'll land in Standalone, which gives us 18% damage reduction, minus 2% for our Golem, and still that makes us so much more tanky for the capstone. Join the 3 points out of Inspiring Leader and also put them into Memento Mori for another 60% increased sacrificial bonus to give you even more elemental resistance and also even more overpower damage multiplicative again, which now has our skill bar supplemented with Corpse Tendrils and Golem as 2 skills to pull enemies together, which will make the capstone dungeon boss easier than ever because his annoying summons will just get taunted and then pulled and then taunted and then pulled. No more damage to you. You can stay healthy the whole time. Now in World Tier 3 and on our road to 50, we do actually keep the Golem, and we're not even going to think about Bone Storm until level 60 plus. To flesh the build out, we also do need damage reduction from close and more damage to close, because that's what we do as a Blood Surger. We always stand in the middle. We want the multiplicative damage increase for core skills with Unliving Energy for more essence, and then Imperfectly Balanced for another 15% more, only for a 9% higher essence cost. And also what we're looking at is 1 single point in Drain Vitality, because hitting enemies with blood skills has up to a 30% chance to fortify you for 2% of your maximum life. Doesn't sound like a lot, but having that on top of your actual fortify that's happening with Initiate's Hemorrhage is quite useful. Just a little bonus. 3 more points into Blood Mist, Enhanced Blood Mist, and then also Ghastly Blood Mist for the bonus corpses to always have a corpse. Technically, we could also think about now going for Dreadful Blood Mist, which officially gives us 10% bonus critical strike chance. That's quite intriguing and might be worth it over the bonus corpses, as we do not need corpses as much as a full corpse explosion build. Just need it for a little bit more essence, a little bit more damage, but if we do corpses with Hood Flesh and the Golem, it's kind of not needed. Now you'll notice we have more skills than we could possibly fit into the bar. And there's an argument to be made that you don't need Golem and also Corpse Tendrils together. We did choose the Corpse Tendrils because they're so uniquely good versus the capstone dungeon bosses in World Tier 2. Now, personally, I think for Elias, Corpse Tendrils is not that good. So I would actually put these 3 points out for the fight until level 50, which then allows us to put Blood Mist in, because versus the Elias fight, it's quite useful to be able to just dodge all damage. And the Golem is a quite nice buffer that can also pull together all the minions, but eat up a lot of the damage that Elias does, allowing you to continuously keep blasting him. To increase our outgoing damage even more, I propose to put 3 more points into Death Reach, which gives us another 12% damage to distant enemies, because we're trying to stand close to everything. But as you know, not everything is standing close to us all the time. So why not get bonus damage in both directions? Also, there's nothing wrong with now jamming 3 more points into Inspiring Leader for that bonus attack speed, which brings us up to level 50 and then into the level 55 range to clear the capstone dungeon. If you can't do it at level 55, try at 60. And we'll get to the skill point changes after level 60 in a second. First, let's take a peek at what our robot can do for us. I mentioned breaking support earlier, which has the damage from the supported skill of our Senechal construct, destroy enemy barrier effects. In addition, there's a chance to make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. Now, we want this to happen as often as possible, and for that, we're taking Gyrate. The construct whirls his legs around and does an area of effect damage, which is really good, and we saw it only has a 2-second cooldown early on. You have the breaking support, he runs around, whirls, makes everything vulnerable, works well with his bosses, and now we also put on the resource support on top. Players gain 15 primary resource when the supporting skill first deals damage, and now he goes around every 2-second whirls and then also gives us resource straight away. That does sound plenty well to me. Which brings us to 2 choices. Cooldown support, decrease the cooldown of the supported skill so it happens faster and more often. Or we're going to give it a swift support for bonus attack speed bonus so it happens more often. Now that's already a really nice regaining of resource and making our opponent permanently vulnerable for multiplicative more damage. Now I feel like since we're Blood Surge and always deal damage to everyone in the room, it's better if we have our minion help us do more damage. And therefore we're taking Flash of Adrenaline. Administer a quick Flash of Adrenaline into the player, granting it bonus damage, so it can do even more damage to everyone in a circle around us, which gives us the duration support for a longer damage bonus. Also tactical support so that the supported skill happens faster and more often. And lastly, Fortify support, because whenever he uses the skill, we get an amount of Fortify to keep our Fortify topped up that we can then continuously do more damage. It gives us a bonus option with the Gyrate, which could potentially change into another ability as we figure out what their cooldown reductions are. Because the most important thing is here right now, we want the resource support to happen as often as possible. For that, we need the fastest attack speed, the lowest cooldown attack. If that turns out to be Impale or Slash, then we're straight up taking Impale or Slash. Because end of the day, the breaking support with a bonus vulnerable is super important against bosses for that multiplicative damage there. Normal minions die anyways, left, right, and center. Now, while you're leveling, there's only one single aspect you need, and you can get that from the Codex of Powers. You only need to clear Hoarfrost Demise, and you get Blood Surge's Nova Echoes again after a short delay, dealing 60% less damage. Put that on your amulet, and it's 50% more efficient. Put this on your weapon, and it's 30% less damage. And that Hoarfrost Demise in Kjovitshad, you can easily clear up here straight away with level 8 already. Usually I would recommend waiting for around 18 because then you get your Frost Skeletal Mages and that makes clearing the Hoarfrost Demise easier. Now we have beaten Elias and we're in World Tier 4, level 60, Ancestral Gear is popping and we want to finalize how this actually looks. For that, we're throwing the Golem out and also the bonus attack speed. We don't have points for that. And also 1 point of Inspiring Leader, which gives us straight then Bone Storm, Prime Bone Storm, and Supreme Bone Storm for the critical strike chance and the bonus damage reduction. That 1 more bonus point definitely wants to land into Grim Harvest, so with every corpse consumed, you produce even more resource. And technically, we could cut out our Enhanced Iron Maiden and Iron Maiden already for Corpse Tendrils and Enhanced Corpse Tendrils plus the Vulnerable, Realistically, though, we don't actually need Corpse Tendrils in Season 3. Because Corpse Tendrils are our constant source of vulnerable. And well, that's what we got our minion for now, to essentially cause vulnerable all the time. That should work perfectly. The pulling together is a nice little bonus, but we're playing Blood Surge, which deals damage to the whole room anyways. Which means we could keep playing Iron Maiden for a while to just get this essence cost reduction and not slow down in any way, just giving us a little bit more speed as we're leveling. Now, if you do manage to find an exposed flesh aspect early, then as soon as you have that one, you're going to swap out Iron Maiden and also the 3 points in amplified damage for Corpse Tendrils and Plate Corpse Tendrils. That gives you even more vulnerable at any time together with your robot. And due to the lucky hit of the Corpse Tendrils, paired together with a vulnerable from itself and your robot, you should be continuously replenishing essence with exposed flesh, which is your infinite essence gameplay loop anyways. Another point more into Grim Harvest now for even more essence on corpse consumption. And then lastly, either a point in transfusion, so you can create some random blood orbs with a 3% lucky hit chance, or just get even more attack speed boost, which is nice for faster blood surges and also faster hemorrhages. More attack speed is always good. Now your aspects for the full build would look following. On the weapon, we're going to be playing, well, you get the bonus Nova aspect that we just cast multiple. As our offhand, we do want the Lidless Wall. That's going to be able to get from Zir. For that, you do Legion events to get the blood, and then we can farm the Lidless Wall. On one ring, it's going to be Exposed Flesh, which gives us essence on hitting vulnerable enemies. And we do that with Blood Surge, Corpse Explosion, Corpse Tendrils, and also our Hemorrhage, which leads to us almost having infinite essence shenanigans. The second ring will be Sacrilegious Soul for the bonus-free Corpse Explosion and Corpse Tendrils happening all the time. Also reason to go into Corpse Tendrils as soon as you have Sacrilegious Souls, even without the exposed flesh. Until you have Sacrilegious Souls, you might as well play the aspect of the Umbral for bonus resource on crowd control. Not bad. Now the amulet in the long run wants the Banished Lord's Talisman that you get just incredible bonus super overpower crits, which then also has us use the aspect of the Grasping Veins for more critical strike chance 20% and more critical strike damage multiplicative 40%. Also, as a heads up, the Golem gets sacrificed for 30% multiplicative more critical strike damage. Chest armor is and will always be Disobedience for the stacking armor bonus that you sit comfortably at these 13.5k armor, and your Bone Storm with the Lidless Wall will help to maintain that continuously. That then also with the aspect of the Shielding Storm, you have a continuous ongoing of maximum life barium of 5% together with Disobedience giving you huge armor. Now, before you ask, can you play the Harlequin Crest if you find it? Sure. The Harlequin Crest can go in for the helmet, then the Shielding Storm needs to essentially go on your pants. No problem, Harlequin Crest would be possible, but most won't have that. So let's put Shielding Storm back up here, and your pants can actually be whatever you want. Usually, I would say T-Bolt's Will, because that gives you 40% multiplicative damage increase while unstoppable in 4 seconds after. The problem is, the resource gain of 40 resource when you become unstoppable was only good because you could continuously become unstoppable with the vampiric power. Right now, I cannot become unstoppable unless I do use Blood Mist, which does have a significant cooldown, which then is not really good to use as a getting unstoppable. So we can actually forget about T-Bolt's Will on the Necro, sadly. There would technically be a chance to use the Blood Moon Breaches, which gives you 70% multiplicative overpowered damage, but we're not using a single curse in this build, so this is more needed for the Bloodlands build. Instead, we could opt in to be an incredible Giga Tank or more damage. Again, Shielding Storm can move to the pans if we want to, and then the helmet, for example, is open for a Godslayer crown. When you stun, freeze, immobilize an enemy, stun, really easy, we get our tendrils for that. You pull them all together and you get a 60% multiplicative increase in damage. That does kind of work nicely with the build. Godslayer crown as an option. If we're removing now the aspect of disobedience on the helmet, the chest is free, and here we could play Soulbrand, which gives us maximum life. That's fantastic. Lucky hit chance while you have barrier, and we always have barrier, and we do need lucky hit chance for our exposed flesh to restore resource. And then damage reduction from close enemies, while our potions also give us more barrier and even more damage reduction while we have barrier going on. So instead of now going for more resource generation per se, we just make ourselves be more sturdy and therefore get us even more lucky hit chance for the exposed flesh to then do, well, surprisingly, even more damage as we can cast more. Lastly, on the boots, I would go for Flicker Step. Flicker Steps reduces the cooldown of our ultimate and also makes sure that we're consistently always have Bone Storm up if we need it, as Lidless Wall is our main source together with the Bone Storm, being always tanky, always alive, always buried, never able to take damage, doing maximum fortify and maximum HP damage. Weapons get rubies, armors get rubies, and the jewelry gets diamonds or skulls, as we might be maximum resistance out already due to the Book of the Den. Lastly, a look at the Paragon board. Here we want to take the Sacrificial Glyph early for bonus multiplicative damage while you have no active minion. And also we're increasing the value of our magic nodes. That's quite damn good. This gets us into the Bloodbath board for 35% increased overpower damage. And we're also trying to take every overpower we find on the road together here now with the Essence Glyph for bonus 22% multiplicative critical strike chance. Pretty good, and also some more damage while fortified because, well, we're always going to be fortified. On the right, the secret trick, we're heading into the Bone Graft board to take more life. Life is damage. Also put in the Imbiber Glyph for damage while healthy, which is its own multiplier with damage while fortified. Really good. And then lastly, we get maximum essence bonus and essence on kill. Yep. Whenever we kill something, and that would be 4 essence on kill bonus. So you kill 10 enemies, 40 essence back. That's another blood surge to kill more enemies. Travel upwards into the Flesh Eater board for the 40% multiplier on consuming 5 corpses, which we automatically do with the Ring of Sacrilegious Souls. And then also the Exploit Glyph for more damage to vulnerable enemies with all the dexterity we can take, elite damage, and the bonus of resistance to all elements. Into the right board with Send of Death for more damage reduction or bonus damage if there's not enough corpses, and there might really not be enough corpses because we used them all up really quick. Then look for critical strike damage as we're scaling critical strike overpower damage for the maximum amount of overpower multiplier. That gives us upwards. Lastly, into the Blood Begets board, and only to take more overpower damage and another huge boost of overpower damage. It's fantastic and super strong. This build had me almost world record speed from 1 to 35 and also flying all the way to 100. Uber Lilith, Abu 12 Zir, which doesn't exist right now, but the Gauntlet and also every single vault will just fall in front of you. Tier 100 dungeons are a breathe. And if you want to have more information right now about how to level and the seasonal mechanic, there you go.